Hi all. In this video we are going to create the interactive dashboard in Excel part 2. So far we created the tables for months, days and week columns. We created a pivot table, we derived the KPIs and we added average per day and abandoned percentage to the KPIs. Next is to set up the dashboard field. Let's go to our Excel file and create our new dashboard. Let me create a dashboard for this. Let me create a dashboard page here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is make it as a clean page, removing the grid lines and no headings. We can even remove the formula bar, but let me keep it because we will need the formula bar. Now we have our dashboard area set. Let's start with a simple dashboard. Let me insert the shape here as a simple rectangle like this. I'm going to drag this all over, not too much. We can just keep it as much as we want the dashboard area to be visible. So I want my dashboard area to be visible up to this much. Let me take another shape here, insert, shapes, and the same rectangle shape, and let me just adjust it. I saved a simple call center picture like this. We can just paste it here and resize it. Insert the text box. I inserted a text box and mentioned it as a call flow inside here. Let me remove the background of this text box. Shape format, no fill, and the text, let me increase the text size. Let me change the color of this to dark blue, and I'm going to move this here. Let me change the color of this bar as well. Let me remove the outline of this text box. To go to shape format, shape outline, and no outline. Now we don't have our outline here. Now it's time for us to add our KPI elements here. To do that, let me quickly select few boxes or shapes. I'm going to take the shapes like this. I'm going to overlap it on the previous one. I have placed this box just to update the KPI details here, and we have 5 KPI components here. So I will have to paste this 5 times, but let me format this first. Let me give a light background to this, and let me add another shape inside this. Let me just try to place it here, and I'm going to change the color of this to blue. Let me make this color as one shade lighter. I now got my one of the KPI card ready. I got one of my KPI card ready. Let me group these two as one. Now I've selected both the shapes. Right click on any of the shape and go to group. Now this whole shape is one group. Let me copy this 5 times so that I can repeat this for all the 5 KPI cards. Copy. Let's arrange all these KPI cards in one line. And let me give a different color to all these KPI cards. Now I've given different colors to all my 5 different KPI cards. Let me arrange it in one order. For that, I'm going to select all these, control, and select all these KPI cards. Go to shape format, and here align, distribute horizontally, align to the top. Now the KPI cards are properly distributed across this whole view. Now let's insert the picture or the icon to it. I've inserted the icons to all these 4 KPIs. Let me show you how to insert the icon to the last KPI card. Go to insert icon. This is call related, so I'm just typing call, and I got these icons. I selected the first one, insert. Let me resize it and place it here. Okay, now we have our icons ready for all these KPI cards. Let me insert the text box. Here let me mention key performance indicators. Go to no fill and text. Let me increase the text and keep it as center, and let me remove the text outline. Shape outline, no outline. Now we have our key performance indicator. Let me put this as an underlined one. This looks a little better now. And here let me insert another text box, and here I'm not going to type anything. I'm going to the formula bar, click is equal to. I'm now going to link this text box with the pivot data. Go to the pivot table and select this number, enter, and we have our text here. I can resize it and go to no fill, and the text font, I can just reduce the font size to fit inside this, and let me remove the outline here. Okay, now we have total calls offered. Let me insert another text box, and let me do the same thing. Go to the formula bar, type is equal to, and go to the pivot sheet and enter and select the range where we want to get the data from. I want the output of the total calls offered. So I selected this range and hit enter. Now I've selected this sheet 2 and A4 range data here, and I have the values just as what I have here. Let me go to no fill, change the font type, also increase the font size, and let me change the color of the font. Let me remove the outline. Now I have one of my KPI card ready. Let me copy this 2 text box and group it as one, and now let me copy this and paste it to all these KPIs, and all that I have to do is double click on this and change the reference here accordingly. For the next KPI, we need the data from B3. Let me type B3 and lock it using F4, and I have to do the same thing, which is B4. We lost the original format. I have to format it again, but let me do the same thing to all these and get the right data. Ungroup this so that we get the right format done. Okay, now I have removed the groups here. I'm going to select this, Control A, and select here to format the same thing here. Now I've inserted all my 5 KPI cards here, and I've mentioned what are these KPI cards all about. This is for total calls offered, and this is the amount that is taken from the pivot table. All these are directly connected from the pivot table that we have here. And when I change the data from the pivot table here, if I select any particular year, 2018, we have the abandoned calls now as this much, and let me go to 2018. The data changes to 5237, and the data has now changed to the same one what we have in the pivot table. So this values are directly connected to the pivot table that we have here. Instead of going to the pivot table and making the changes from this filter, we can have a filter on our dashboard. To apply filters, go to insert. Now to make this KPI cards interactive, I have to apply the slicer. For that, let me go to my pivot chart, go to pivot table analyze and insert slicer. I'm going to select months years and quarter slicers. I have these 3 slicers open. Let me copy only the year slicer and paste it here anywhere. And we'll have to format the slicer, but I have all these options under slicer grayed out. I don't have too many options to work on this slicer. It means the slicer option is disabled and I have to enable all these styles and other options. Go to File, go to Options. Here go to Customize Ribbon. Go to Tool tabs and here go to Slicer tool and add everything to the Home tab. Now I have all these slicer style, arrange, button size added onto the Home tab here. Click OK. Now I have all these options enabled on my slicer. I have the slicer styles and all the multiple options to work on this particular slicer. Let me go to slicer settings, and I don't need the header here, so I'm going to remove the header. And all these items which don't have data, I don't want this to be shown, and let it be from oldest to newest. Now I'm going to resize the slicer. Let me check the styles of this, and I'm going to use this slicer style, and here which says columns, let me add 2 columns. Now I have 2 columns here with 2 different dates. I can reduce the size of it and let me place it here. Let me select all these KPI cards, right click on this and go to Size and Properties, and here click on Don't Move or Size with Cells. This will lock the KPI cards to the place where it is now, and if I add any cell or remove any cell, this won't move here and there. I place my slicer here. Let me select the multi-select here and then remove the header. Similarly, let me go to the pivot table and take the quarter data here. Copy this and paste it anywhere here. And let's do the same formatting to this as well. Click on slicer, settings, select multi-select first. Go to slicer settings, remove the header and also hide the items with no data. Let me resize it and increase this column style to 2 and also reduce the width of it. For this, let me select a different style and I'm going to use this style. Now when I select the year 2017, I have only 3 years data. Let me select only 1 year. Now I have only 2019 data. As in when I change the year details, the values also changes in the KPI card. Let me select only the quarter 3 and 4. If I select only for 1 quarter, this is the calls offered. And when I select this 2 quarter, and now when I selected 2 quarters, this is the data. Let me select all the 4 quarters. This is the number of calls offered for the year 2019 for all the 4 quarters. And for quarter 20, we have only data for quarter 1 and quarter 2. So quarter 3 and quarter 4 is not shown here, as we have selected the settings that if there is no data, then do not show those buttons. That's the reason we don't have those buttons here. Let me select 2017, and this is the number of calls for 2017. And let me remove quarter 3 and quarter 4 data, and this is for the first 2 quarter calls, abandoned percentage and the average calls offered for that particular year, and for quarter 1 and for quarter 2. This way our dashboard is now highly interactive, and based on the data that we have selected, it shows us those numbers. This is how we make the interactive dashboards only for KPIs. I'm going to add some more slicers and graphs to this dashboard, and that we are going to cover in part 2.